hope it was.
I'm so sorry, is that me?
No, it wasn't.
Yes.
No, you don't have an American accent, Lucy. Not yet. So I'll leave it there, and I thank you for the comment about street scene. But I think we'll disagree on the other matters.
Yeah,
and I haven't used any of my knowledge that I've gained on the project board at any time, and I made that point to Councillor Walters earlier tonight. Put me in a very difficult position. I've avoided that here. I've asked questions that are open.
That we also have a very strong, robust evidence base that should we need to challenge government, whether through our MP or directly, we are there. We're not simply turning around saying we can't afford it. We are turning around and saying, right, these are the reasons where it's a challenge. These are our goals. These are our ambitions. But we can't do it with our hands tied behind our back. And I think the funding element, us making sure that the additional funding which will become available does actually meet the cost, rather than leaving us with a uncomfortable shortfall.
Before we move on, can I have your agreement to extend the meeting by 15 minutes, because I don't think we're going to finish on time. All hands up if you approve, please. That's unanimous. So moving on to Councillor Ainsley, please.
Thank you, Chair. I must agree wholeheartedly with Gordon's comment regarding scrutiny. I fundamentally disagree with what you're saying, and I think that's a discussion for another day, and I won't be pursuing it now. Though I did note your comments about the that you're not going to rush things to meet scrutiny's needs, which is a shame, really, because on page 11 you've got a massive typo, which might have been better served by you actually reviewing the document properly. The point I want to make, I think, is that I agree with the high-level goals that you have in the document. This is about an education, and I think the biggest issue that we certainly have is that education, and I go back to Councillor Waller's point about her husband, the hard to reach, as I might say, who actually does need education about the rationale behind recycling, which is multifaceted. So I think that's really it. I just really did get quite tense, actually, Lucy, about your comments regarding scrutiny. So,
right.
But we'll leave that to another day.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry if I've caused offence, but I'm really mindful that we've got a corporate plan and a vision, which is obviously done by all members. Too robust or abrupt. My intention was not to devalue scrutiny, but rather to say we really need to work together, remembering officers' workload and getting things done to a good standard. The typo, thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
Councillor Oxley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've got 4 points I wanted to make. First of all, I've read through, I couldn't see any reference to interacting with commercial waste and shops, encouraging shops to reduce the amount of packaging that shoppers, because you talk about residents, but this isn't just about residents, it's about everybody that works and lives in Rutland. So we have to find a way to encourage shops and commercial units to reduce the amount of waste that they generate. And I couldn't see anything in this document that makes reference to that. My second question is with regards to how we are going to engage with town and parish councils when it comes to street cleansing. Are we going to be going, and we will be asking them perhaps to, as many people in Uppingham, I can't speak for Oakham, but in Uppingham I know are complaining constantly about trees growing out of the gutters, not in the centre of the town, but in other parts of the town. And this might be an opportunity to try and encouraged the town councils. I've often said that we need a man with a or woman with a bin and a broom to go round and just sweep the town and keep it clean. So that's something which perhaps could come out of this consultation. The third thing is how to reallocate the bins, because if we're talking about food waste being taken out of the black bins, presumably, and put somewhere else, we're going to have to look at the whole way that every single resident has a bin or bins. And when you've got 3 bins per household, grey, black and green, how are you going to do it? Are you going to take some away? Are you going the size of the bin? Are you going to be this? This is the point I made earlier about how it's a very complex sea change of ideas. And there's also I know there's a little bit of mention about composting, and again I've made this point stridently that a lot of people have large gardens in Rutland, and the people who use the green bins tend to have gardens, so we should be trying to encourage them to use the green bin less and actively compost what they had. And I know when we first many years ago when we first started on this road, we encouraged people to buy a compost bin. I think £20 or whatever it was. They were offered at a cut price. Is that something that we will also be thinking of doing?
Brilliant, thank you. I'll start at the top. In terms of the commercial waste services, I mean, at the moment we offer very limited commercial waste service, but I think the point that you make is very valid and very relevant, and I've jotted it down. My understanding was very much thinking about our contract, which deals obviously with the residual waste and the waste that non-commercial properties produce. But I will take that away with me, Councillor Oxley, because anything that we can do to get packaging reduced obviously then has an impact on the volume and weight that we're collecting. In terms of the parish councils, all of this, the links are going to be in the parish roundup this week, so I would be expecting parish councils to be discussing this and also responding to it. That is something that we will obviously pick up and make sure that we've engaged. There's always the opportunity to go to parish forum as well, so I'm confident that we will include the parishes on that. In terms of the allocation of bins, you're absolutely right. Clearly, if you change your collections, there's an impact on the bins that you have. Part of the options appraisal is looking at absolutely everything. What the impact would be in terms of, do you take bins away? Do you give new bins? What would be the cost for that? Is it so much hassle that people really won't end up doing it? So that full picture, the detail and the complexities that you're talking about will be in that options appraisal work. And again, you're absolutely right. The good news with Resource Futures is that they've seen loads of examples of councils doing different things. So as I've already said, they know the good, what worked well, what didn't work so well. And of course, you know, ultimately, that's where scrutiny will clearly be having a massive input into those options appraisals.
So so tonight we're being asked to give our blessing to this consultation document, and then you're expecting us to be able to come back to you in the next month or so. Presumably we can put it onto our work plan to have a meeting specifically to look at the options appraisals. Yeah,
and what I would ask, and not wishing to open a can of worms again, what I'd be very, very grateful for, Chair, is that we can have a really clear open dialogue in terms of, and obviously that this is probably more a note to myself, but that we're really clear when the work is going to be completed to a good standard and is ready for scrutiny to look at thoroughly. If you see what I mean, which is because theoretically, Chair, you could say I would like this at the next meeting, and for example, it wouldn't be ready, so then we'd be in a difficult position.
Can I've just got one more thing to say. It's now in the public domain. Is there any way we can correct spelling mistakes? There's a couple of spelling mistakes.
It's gone to desktop publishing, and I apologise, Councillor Oxley. My eagle eye didn't pick up the typos. Clearly, I've been too long out of the classroom, and I do apologise.
Okay, just our goals, waste composition, that needs correcting as well. So, all right. Well, look, I look forward to working with you on this one.
Me too. Ditto.
Councillor Brown, you have your hand up.
Yeah, point of information, Chair, more than anything else. And I'm going to look to Mrs. Sharp on this one. She can confirm one way or the other. I seem to remember from my retail days that excess packaging was in fact something that trading standards could deal with. And I've been amazed that trading standards haven't dealt with it over the years, particularly in things like Easter eggs and the like. Is that the case, that we as a trading standards body can actually enter a retailer's premises, look at packaging and go, that's excess packaging, that's not acceptable, you shouldn't be selling it in that way? Is that correct, Mrs. Sharp?
I believe that is correct, but can I take that away and come back with a clear position on that?
Because clearly that would then leave that opportunity in our hands, as raised before, to start putting pressure on our retailers, and particularly the big retailers who've just the most waste, to do something about it.
Yeah, if I may, just if I can come back on that, because clearly there would be resource implications for that. That's not something that we currently require our trading standards service to do for us. Yeah,
I appreciate that. The other thing is that, just for information again, retailers actually have to pay a surcharge to government, I believe it is, or to a body who use the money for recycling purposes, on the weight of all packaging. So again, I recall having to weigh all the packaging of every item that Wilco sold, and then having to go back to this authority and say how much money we owe them on that basis. It's 12 years ago now, but I seem to recall that. So again, there's information which I think might be useful for not just this committee, but for Cabinet to understand as well.
Yeah, and what's suddenly popped into my head is Amazon, because I would say Amazon is absolutely shocking for excessive packaging for very small items, if my children's Christmas presents are anything to go by.
Councillor Hemsley, you have your hand up.
I do. On packaging, it is actually, you can leave your packaging at the shop when you purchase something, and it leaves it with them for the responsibility to deal with it. But there are various other things we can certainly look at.
I have Councillor Waller's hand up. Did you want to come in?
Thank you. Can I apologise for disappearing? Although it wasn't my fault. I lost my internet connection and I had a lot of trouble getting back into this meeting. So sorry about that. I have been known to take things out of the packaging and leave it on the supermarket counter in my life because I thought it was excessive packaging. But I don't know how I do that, picking up Lucy's point, with all the awful amount of packaging that comes from Amazon and the like. And I have now got a cupboard full of it at home because I don't like the idea of putting it in the recycle bin, because you never know, I might find some use for it going forward. But actually it gets to the point where you're just going to have to throw it all away because you've got too much. And I don't think there is anything Rutland can do about that, other than to try and persuade people to stop shopping online. That's just my little observation on that one.
Do we have any more comments on this subject? Penny, you've got your hand up.
Oh, it's just on that point, and I'm conscious, I think Councillor Waller dropped out when we were discussing your question about whether or not we're able to analyse how much of the additional waste was linked to online shopping. We can't split that out, but we have got anecdotal information from our crews, particularly through COVID, in terms of the amount of side refuse they were picking up, which was a Christmas, you know, what we would normally experience at Christmas time in terms of, and the majority of that was indeed cardboard and packaging.
Thank you, Penny, and thank you for noticing. That was when I went.
Councillor Oxley.
Yeah, actually, I was just about to say that across the country, reports have of waste going up during COVID because people have been buying online. But if a lot of people who are buying their groceries from the supermarkets, from Sainsbury's or whatever, they actually have the option not to have bags, to have it not delivered in bags, and they just bring it in a tray and then you unload it straight into your home. And that is, as I say, that's the conversation we need to be having with retailers locally. I don't think there's very much we can do locally to stop Amazon sending us stuff with excess packaging, but we may be able to hope to do something locally, talking to retailers. And we have had in the past, we've had you know, recycle for Rutland bags and things like that. So and again, engaging with the children, we need to get children involved as much as possible, because so many adults actually learn more from their kids about recycling than the adults do from anything which drops through the letterbox. So that's something which we could be really trying to fine tune to get the schools involved, and as part of the overall package of reinventing the wheel in Rutland.
Your hand's up, Penny. Is that a historical hand or?
No, it was just I completely agree with the comment around involvement of young people, and really just for the committee's awareness. There's been a really good campaign which the youth forum, Rutland's Youth Forum, have been leading on around waste, and that's been really positive, and has engaged parents and wider families in terms of challenging that thinking about reduction of waste.
In fact, I was one of the families, Chair, and I'm still doing all the things that they suggested.
Well done, you. So if nobody else has got their hands up, I'd like to thank you all for your contributions, and your comments will be noted for the minutes. We'll go to the annual work plan, which is item number 13. I think we've covered this off to a degree, in respect that we've stated that our focus is to input into the development of the waste and the leisure contract. Are there any other items presently we wish to see considered at our meetings, other than those that arise on an urgent basis? Councillor Oxley?
Yeah, just to say, I think it would help if we had input from the climate change task group that Councillor Stevenson is chairing, because we've made a lot of progress, and I think it would help those members who aren't on that, who are members of this, to get an update on how it's going, short, medium and long-term objectives. So that's something which could be included as well, perhaps.
Yeah, may I just be clear, it's not a task and finish group. Sorry, Councillor Oxley.
I know, sorry, I know it's not. Yeah. It's something you have created yourself. So and that's fine, and it's doing a good job. But I think we need to report back to this group any progress that we've been making.
Yeah, I'm happy to do a little mini report if that helps, Councillor Oxley, and then we can all share it.
So I think that we've mentioned all the way through this meeting is that scrutiny would like to be more involved in the waste and the leisure contract, and we would like to sort of like have an update from the portfolio holder as to where we are with the milestones monthly, just so that we, because we have such big gaps in between our meetings, you know, the next official meeting September, that's a long way away really, and things can change rapidly. So what we would like to ask as a committee, and I think we're all agreed on this, is that we have regular monthly updates, even if it's just to say nothing's happened or whatever, so we can just keep in the loop on this, and hopefully we can have some positive engagement, and just ask on some of these options before they come forward. Have you considered this? And be told that. Councillor Oxley, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were actually going to be scheduling a meeting, as Councillor Stevenson said, she wanted us to look at the options in July and August. So we're going to have to meet before September in order to do that. Perhaps we should schedule an extra meeting.
Yeah, if we leave that for Joe to organise for us, one in July and one in August, so that we can touch base with the leisure, and so with Alan and also with Lucy on waste. And it would be, I think also it would be handy to, at some stage, to keep in the loop on where we are with the budget, with finances as well. Is that okay with you, Karen? You're on mute, darling.
Yes, I'm quite happy to keep you updated. I'll talk with Sav tomorrow about when there will be things produced that you can actually have a look at.
Yeah, so we can just check that we are on budget, or if we're behind, etc. So we don't have any surprises, I think would be the best word. Yeah. So I've not been notified of any other urgent business, so I'll move to the last item on the agenda. If there are no further questions, can I thank you all and declare this meeting closed at 21:40.
Thank you, June, for sharing this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.